I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on GBM, we're diving into two electrifying sci-fi adventures crafted by Charles Chuck Vaden Jr. He is a real-life pilot and aerospace expert. He is out with two wonderful books. The first book, A Space Family Odyssey, Lost in Space. The other book, A Space Family Odyssey, First Contact. They launch readers into a high-speed mission gone wrong as the Graving family hurtles through space at 100 times the speed of light and crash lands on a prehistoric world. These books are packed with hyperdrive action, time travel twists, and most importantly, scientifically grounded storytelling. These futuristic odysseys deliver excitement, danger, and imagination on a cosmic scale. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us once again here today. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him on TV today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing books. The links are below this interview. Chuck, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you, Logan. It's a pleasure to be here, and I just love talking with you and promoting this book. This second book is going to be. I'd like to do a little intro on the first one, just to bring up a few items that people may not remember that'll lead into the second one, and then there'll be a catastrophe like right away on the planet that gets you going right away.
Sounds good. So let's talk about book one. Give us its title and give us a summary, if you would.
Okay, the book one is basically what you said, A Space Family Odyssey, and Lost in Space, which is based on the 1960s Lost in Space show, but it's much more advanced, much more realistic, and much more real. This is kind of how NASA is going to produce this. This is how they're going to do this. Now, the planet that the family ends up on after they go to light speed and go out of control is not a planet that NASA was looking at going to. This family just happened to end up landing on this planet. They had three planets to choose from. They picked the one in the middle, and the son, who's piloting this massive spacecraft, puts it right on this planet, and they hit pay dirt. They land on a planet with oxygen, water flowing, food, green, temperature 75 to 78 every day. It's like Disney World. They couldn't have hit anything better. And plus, there's dinosaurs from Jurassic Park on Earth that are on this planet. So there's a link between Earth and this planet. That kind of brings you up. That's what they find on this planet. They find skeletons of creatures that are humanoid looking, and they wonder, where did they come from? They bring them back to the computer. The computer analyzes them and finds out that they're anywhere from 800,000 years old to several million years old. And they come from various parts of the galaxy.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's talk about book two, the title of book two, and a quick summary.
Okay, second book is also A Space Family Odyssey, but it's called First Contact. This is it. This is what we've been waiting for hundreds of years. First Contact. Then this is when they're going to make it. Now, they've already met the animals on the planet, so that's kind of first contact already, because they've met animals that weren't on Earth, except for 200 million years ago. So first contact here means they're going to meet humanoids from another part of the galaxy. So what's going to happen is they're on a planet called Cygni 61, and that's a planet that NASA has been looking at in the last several years, and that's where they are. And so if you go into that, the rover that they used to get around the planet, the two older kids, Daisy and Adam, are going to take this rover and looking south. South is where all the incredible stuff is. The herbivores and carnivores, this new first contact, everything's in the southern hemisphere. It's warmer, it's where they want to be, and that's where they go. So when they go there, they've seen this once before. They get caught in a massive meteor storm, and it kind of destroys the rover. It just beats it in. And then it ends up knocking Daisy and Adam out. They're unconscious. So several hours later, they wake up, and they're in a camp they don't even recognize, and there's humanoids that are taking care of them. They look human, but they're a little different. Like they have an extra set of arms below their regular arms. Otherwise, in the face, they look just like we do, but they're white. They have white hair and very light skin. So that means they come from a planet that's not very close to a sun, probably a red dwarf, which is a cooler sun. So it doesn't affect their skin. They don't have any cosmic radiation on their skin at all. So their skin is very pure looking, and they're very friendly, but they don't talk. So here's the problem for the kids is how they're going to communicate with these aliens. So they try and motion to them where they need to go to get back to their spaceship. And the aliens agree by giving them a thumbs up, which the kids give to them. So the aliens think, okay, that means something. So they give it back to them. And then they smile at them and they say, okay, they motion them to come this way. They put them on their rover. They're about 40 miles from the graving spaceship, and they take them to the Valkyrie. And then the whole family gets to meet first contact, the first aliens they've ever seen. So they meet them right here. So they bring the kids back, and they put them through the computer to make sure they're okay and they're in good shape. There's nothing wrong with them. And then they get to meet this new family. This new family is very similar to the graving family. They have a mom and dad and 3 kids that are about the same age as Adam and Daisy and Lindy. So this is a really good mix. But the problem is these aliens communicate telepathically between each other. So how do we get them to talk to us? Well, the computer figures that out. They get the aliens. We show them motion like we're speaking. They hear us talking, and they have vocal cords. So when we say words, the aliens start to repeat the words, and the computer takes their language, what they're saying, and puts it all together and starts to make a language that they're speaking that we can understand. That's how it happens. Without the computer, we'd never make communication with these aliens. So we start talking to them, and we decide to ask them if they want to stay for dinner because they brought their kids back. And the aliens, in their language, the computer translates for the gravings. Yes, they'd be more than happy to stay, but they need to get something from their hovercraft. So they come out, and they've got this big jug of liquid. And so they're going to provide the drink for the meal, and the gravings have already cooked up some herbivore and some vegetables from the hydroponic garden, and they're going to have a big meal. This is really awesome. They're having a meal with these aliens, but they don't know what to call them. They just keep calling them aliens, and they don't like doing that. So they leave it to the kids to come up with a name for these aliens. And so basically, the name they come up with that they're going to call them is Kristen kind of comes up with it, and everybody goes, yes, that's perfect. So what they're going to call them is Talon, Talyn. And they tell the computer this. They want the family from now on, their last name is going to be Talyn, Talon. That's going to be their last name. But they don't have any first names. So the kids give all the other kids first names, names that they like or friends they have from back on Earth. And that's how they get the name. So then now these families are starting to really click and get together. This punch that they're drinking has an extremely high alcoholic content. Now you've got, through the time travel thing, the kids aged from 10 or 11 to 17 or 18. So they went through their teen years like that. And all of a sudden, they're older teenagers. Well, everything's different. The hormones are catching up to them. They like these kids that they see, but they don't know how to interact because they just became teenagers like overnight. And they got to figure this out. So they start talking to these kids through the computer and start asking them questions. And they're starting to become really good, really close friends. So the next couple of nights later, the alien family, the Talons, invite the Gravings down to their camp to show them their spaceship and where they are and cook food for them. So they bring them a couple of nights later to their camp and show them where they live. And everything they have is different. The food that they eat They prepare themselves. They don't kill herbivores for the food. They kind of make all their own food, and it's fantastic. The Graving family loves it. Plus, they get more of that punch, and the kids love the punch. It's
Yeah.
really driving them crazy. Daisy just really likes it. She loves it. So that's how they get together. And so everything's going really great. And then they have a couple more meteor showers, and they're trying to ask the aliens, the Talons, what do they know about these meteor showers? How often do they show up? Well, they're having problems in translation figuring that out. They really need to find that out. Very important, because these things show up. They can be very intense, or they can be very light, where you can be standing out in it and it feels like just pieces of sand hitting you. Or in the rover incident, there's rocks about this big, bigger than your fist, that'll go right through the rover, and that's what hit them when they were in the rover earlier and they were unconscious. So you never know what these meteor showers are going to be like. So they got to be real careful with that. Otherwise, things are going really well on the planet, and they've just discovered that basically the new family tells them and shows them on the ground, draws them a picture of where their planet is, where they're from. They're from about 20 light years from where they are now. And this family actually comes to this planet for like vacation, because it's such a wonderful planet. And their planet they come from is a much bigger planet than Earth, and it's much cooler than Earth because they're in a red dwarf star. And just a quick thing on the space dynamics,
Sure.
the difference between the suns and the stars. A blue star is very, very hot. Blue means hot in space. Red means cool. So a red dwarf means a very cool star. But that star will never go away. They can last 1 trillion years because they burn their hydrogen fuel so slowly, they're always there. They'll always be there. So they're always going to be putting out heat. And they're not going to explode or go supernova, or nothing's going to happen to them. They're always there. So having a red dwarf star is not a bad thing. There's nothing bad about them. But they don't put out a lot of heat like the bigger stars do. They don't put out as much heat as our sun does. So we'd have problems living at a red dwarf sun because it wouldn't put out as much heat. We'd have to be closer to it than this family is. So this brings up the whole thing about space and the red dwarf. I'd like to throw in one more thing here that's very interesting. I don't know if you saw this or not. About maybe 8 or 10 years ago, Sandra Bullock made a movie called Gravity. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yes, a very, very good movie. Totally realistic and exactly the way it would happen. Something goes wrong circling our Earth and it comes apart. That's what happens. The Russians try and get out of they try and use an escape module to get out of their space station, and the space station starts coming apart. Something happens on the way out. They hit a piece of the station, it comes apart, and so all that fragment is circling the Earth just like the other space stations are. And Sandra Bullock is working on one of these space stations when this space debris hits. And it just goes through everything because it's going, 30,000 miles an hour.
Right.
That hits you, you're dead right away. And it kills a lot of them. So, yeah. And then Sandra Bullock starts tumbling. And then, the other guy that's on there, he's got a retro rocket system hooked to him. So he goes over and grabs Sandra Bullock and stops her from tumbling because she would have tumbled for the next 100 years. There's nothing to stop her. No friction, no retro rockets. So without help from someone else in space, and the whole gist of the story with space is there is no life in space. Nothing lives in space. And that's the whole crux of the movie. And to see this stuff circling and going from station to station, the guy says, okay, Sandra, what her name is on the show, hit your watch for this many minutes. Because when that watch hits that time, the space debris is going to show up. Start looking for it and try and get out of its way. And she does successfully. She goes from station to station, just trying to get to a station that works, that maybe she can find an escape capsule and get back to Earth. And that's what finally happens. She gets on the Chinese space station and rides it down through the atmosphere, and everything works like it's supposed to. It comes apart, chutes come out, she lands, and the last scene is very, very prophetic. The last scene, she gets out of the water and she stands up and she's able to walk. That's gravity. That's the name. That's what the whole movie's about. Without gravity, gravity is everything in the universe is gravity.
Yep.
You control gravity, you control the universe. Without gravity, you have nothing.
Right.
And that's the crux of that whole movie. It's very important. Most people loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Very realistic. That is the way it would happen.
Very cool.
It's very cool. And
I'll
so
have to check it out again. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. So anyway, so what we're getting to here is where this family came from, and they're trying to show them on the ground here exactly what planet they're from and where it is in relation to the planet they're on now with the Graving family. So this planet again is about 20 light years away. So it's quite a ways. So in space, like we said before, and like I've said many times before, and I say this to NASA and everybody I meet, if you can't exceed the speed of light, you're not going anywhere.
Right.
Space is big. There's one thing you can say about space. There's a hell of a lot of it. And the only thing in it is hydrogen particles. That's it. So when you fly through space, the faster you go, and you've got hydrogen scoops out there, and you've got solar panels, but there is no drag. So you can go as fast as you want. Nothing slows you down. There's no limit to how fast you can go. And the only limit is what Einstein said. Can't exceed the speed of light. Well, the gratings just disproved that. They went up almost 100 times the speed of light. That's what got them in trouble. But they didn't know that was going to happen. Somebody has to make the first move to find out what speed of light is like. They know. Now they know. So what their big question is, if they go back through the speed of light, will they get younger again? Will they get older? Or will they stay the same? These are questions they don't know until they exceed the speed of light again. And they really don't want to take off from this planet because it's such an awesome planet. They've got all the food they need and water and oxygen and temperatures just right. Everything's perfect. And NASA said, okay, stay there. We'll figure something out, but don't try and go to Alpha Centauri because you're right. The planet can't be as good as where you are now. You're not going to find a better planet than this. So they agree between NASA and themselves, they're going to stay put where they are until they find out more. So this new family, they're gradually getting more information from them every day. As the computer translates and talks more, they exchange more information all the time about what their life is like, what their spaceship is like. And so the Gravings get to go inside their spaceship, and the first thing they see is they don't see dials and a lot of screens like you would see in their spaceship. Right. What they see, they use telepathy to run their spaceship. Right. They don't use their fingers. They use telepathy to fly the ship and do everything. They don't have to touch anything. So they sit in chairs that just have a few screens on them to show them extra things they need to see. Otherwise, everything is done mentally. And that's why they have vocal cords, but they don't really use them. And now we're getting them to use these vocal cords for probably the first time in their life. But they do work. So this is a big deal. They've not only have they made first contact, but they've communicated with first contact. A really big deal. Yeah. So far on this whole planet, the only bad thing they've seen besides the meteor showers are the raptors. Now, the raptors are small. You saw the raptors, of course, on Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, but these raptors are maybe 3 feet tall and 6 or 7 feet long. They're a little bigger than a big dog. But they have claws and teeth. So the family always carries plasma rifles. They're pulse rifles, and they have a killing mode and a stunning mode. So anytime they see a raptor, they stun it right away. And then they run away. They don't want any part of it. You stun one, they don't come back. So that's how they protect themselves. No, they don't go anywhere without their stun rifles. So working with these animals, they can get a herbivore and get food anytime they want. And when a raptor kills a herbivore, they stun the raptor so it'll leave. Then they take the kill with them back to their ship and cook it and eat it. So they don't even have to kill one. So this is a really good thing. They're working with the raptors to get their food and then stunning them so they go away. So they have a pretty good rapport. The raptors don't like it, but the Gravings do. It works for them. So this is a big deal. So this new family comes from a star system that's, like I say, they're about 20 light years further away. So without their light function engine, they've got 3 engines on the Valkyrie, and maneuvering engine, maneuvering thrusters to get them up to 9/10 the speed of light, and then of course their light engine that kicks in that gets them through the speed of light up to as fast as 100 times the speed of light. That's what they think it'll go, but they're not sure. It may go a lot faster than that, but they don't know. They know they tried it once and then went out of control. But they found out one thing about light speed. And when you're going the speed of light, you can be in 2 places at once. That's time travel. So while you're going that fast, this is what happens to them. As soon as they enter the speed of light and start accelerating, they hit an asteroid right away that they didn't see because it wasn't there. But they're now in 2 places at once, where they enter the speed of light and where they hit this asteroid. And it happens instantaneously. They're at 2 places at once. They never saw the asteroid coming. So they realize from now on, when they exceed the speed of light, they have to have a way to detect what's around them, like a warp bubble kind of thing. And you see that in sci-fi movies. So that's what they've got to figure out. But right now, they're not even worried about that because they're staying on the planet. They're not going anywhere.
Right.
So that's kind of where they are right now. And they really like this family, and they want to get to know them a lot better. So as we go further into the book, I won't go into this too much, but another disaster is going to happen that's going to take away this family. And the Gravings are just crushed when this happens. So now their first contact family, the only friends they have on this planet, besides the herbivores that like them, the raptors don't. So their new contact and their first contact friends are killed off. They see smoke when they're going to their camp one morning, and they get there and they find out they've all been killed. So somebody doesn't like them, and they follow them to this planet. So now the Gravings have to worry about, is somebody going to kill them on this planet? That's where you pick it up. That's where I am right now. Now, there's going to be a real interesting twist here on how this thing ends. Are they going to take off from the planet and try and go back to Earth? Or are they going to try and go to where these people came from and go to their planet? They're not sure what they're going to do, but they know there's somebody bad out there that killed these people off. So they have to worry about that. That's their biggest worry right now, is how are they going to defend against this? Because they don't have deflectors like you'd see on Star Trek or something like that.
Exactly.
So
No force field or anything like that to protect
yeah,
them.
they don't
Yeah.
have that.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing. Great story, great detail, great characters, very intriguing. I know you back all of your writing with real science. When you were creating the aliens, were you also looking to real science, or is that how most scholars and scientists view them?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to have these pictures in the book, but the first thing I talk about when I talk about first contact and aliens is, what do we think of when we think of aliens? We think of the Alien movies, and we think of the Arnold Schwarzenegger creature that the alien ends up fighting.
Right.
So you get those are the aliens you think of when you think of aliens.
Right.
Well, the gravings don't mean anything like that. There's
Right.
there's nothing horrible like that out there. That's what Hollywood makes up. So we get scared and we want to see horror. So we see it. But when
Yep.
you go out in space, you're probably not going to see anything like that. And if you
Exactly.
do, if you land on a planet that's got creatures like that on it, that's probably all that's going to be on the planet, or creatures like that. And you
Yep.
don't want to be there. So you'll take off right away. But see, they landed on a planet here that has aliens that are human. They're humanoid. And they can talk, they can communicate with the family. These are the kind of aliens that you're probably going to meet. You're not going to meet aliens with the long tail and the teeth and the ones that have all the weapons and the cloaking devices and things like that. That's very unrealistic. But that's Hollywood, and that's entertaining. That's what we want to see. But let's face it, when you go out in space, for one thing, you may have to go 1,000 light years before you actually find other humanoids or creatures. We don't know. I'm just saying that they could be this close, but we're not sure. We don't know. We don't know where they
Exactly.
are.
They could be around us right now. They could be 20% of the population. We have no idea. They might have
Exactly.
integrated and infiltrated, and we
And,
have no idea. You mentioned Hollywood before. Have you envisioned these books as films?
oh, absolutely. I think these books would make great films. The one thing I need to do in the second book is continue to develop the characters of the kids more, because they've changed 5, 6, 7 years just like that. Well, that's hard to deal with for a teenager. Being a teenager, peer pressure, and all the other things they got to deal with, that alone is enough to just tear them apart.
Yeah.
Well, now they just skipped 5 or 6 years of teen years, and now
Right.
they're almost 20, and they got to figure out how to deal with that.
Yeah.
And the mom and dad are trying to help them, but it's you know how teenagers are. They're hard to talk to, and
Yep.
now they've just gone through this whole incredible transition. It makes it twice as hard.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, I
yeah.
think they'd be great books, great characters, great stories, great events, great catastrophes, and great challenges that they face, without a doubt. Are you already percolating ideas for the third book in your head?
I am. In
Yeah.
fact, in my head, I have a real good idea how this book's going to end, and it's going
Okay.
to be a real shock to everybody. Nobody's going to expect this ending. But this ending, I'm always thinking, let's leave it open to other possibilities. That's when you talk about space travel, and as a pilot, the thing I do the most, I might have talked about this in our first interview, but I do a lot of chair flying. And
Hmm.
chair flying means you sit in your chair and you feel like, okay, I'm in the cockpit. I got my hands on the stick and throttle. What can go wrong that is not in the emergency procedures or that we don't know about? Think about those things. That's what makes a good pilot, a good space person, and someone who thinks about things that they haven't thought about before. And,
Exactly. You
and
you got to think
that's,
about every eventuality, every
yes,
potentiality that could
exactly.
happen, and that way you're prepared. Amazing, amazing work on these books, Chuck. The name of the books we've been talking about today are A Space Family Odyssey, Lost in Space, and A Space Family Odyssey, First Contact. They are both
First contact.
thrilling sci-fi adventures that blend imagination, science, and heart. They are riveting. You'll be rooting for the next installment, book 3, that is yet to come. Chuck,
Oh, yeah.
thank you so much for joining us here today.
It was a pleasure, Logan. I really enjoy speaking with you, and I'm able to put all this information out there for everybody to know, because everything that's in these books is true as
Yep,
far as NASA knows right now. This is
exactly.
real
This is
stuff.
real science. This is real information.
It
Some
is.
imagination is thrown in, but the science behind all of it is solid, which is what
Yep.
makes these such enthralling adventures. Chuck, thank you so much for joining me. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on the Global Book Network.